is made. Eggs are made for tomorrow's lunch. Apparently there's some feedback. Oh shit, Sean is here. Well, that's interesting. Be prepared for some fun messages. Oh, now I get to hear myself. Alright, tea is made. Eggs are made for tomorrow's lunch. Uh-oh, need to turn the mic up. Apparently there's some feedback. Oh shit, Sean is here. Well, that's interesting. Be prepared for some fun messages. Oh, now I get to hear myself.
It's a
Alright,
little bit of delay.
eggs are made for tomorrow's lunch. Uh-oh, need to turn the mic up. Apparently there's some feedback. Oh shit, Sean is here. Well, that's interesting. Be prepared for some fun messages.
Maybe that's loud enough now.
Oh, now I get to hear myself.
It's a
Alright,
little bit of delay. Oh,
eggs are
there we
made
go.
for tomorrow's lunch.
That's louder.
Uh-oh, need to turn the mic up. Apparently there's some feedback. Oh shit, Sean is here. Well, that's interesting.
Still working out a couple bugs with this program. Balls, tons of feedback. I'm fixing it. Don't worry. It'll go away. Hmm. Well, I hope the feedback is gone. Hopefully it's gone. I have a friend who is going to tell me if it is not gone. And if it doesn't go away, then what I will do is shut it off and turn it back on again. The solution to everything. Because there's a tad bit delay. Well, because there's a bit of a delay, we'll wait until it hits a certain spot. Good, there's no feedback anymore. Sweet. Feedback. Alright, we're good to go. So, for anybody who watched the last one, I am, or didn't watch the last one, I guess, what I am doing is I found this image on Google. I don't own it, it's not mine, I didn't draw it, it's somebody else's. I don't know who the guy is. If you know, props to him. I have nothing to do with it. Anyways, I found this image on Google, and what I am trying to do is, while playing with this character, I'm going to animate each and every one of these poses. Some of these are breakdowns. This one in particular is a breakdown. I realized that last time after about 10 minutes of trying to figure it out. This one is also a breakdown. So you'll notice some of the poses I don't actually have yet. Like the first one. Have the first one. Making sure that that line of action throughout the whole body. So it basically looks like from the head to the toe, there's one big angle going through the whole body. It's important that you get that going from every single angle. So you've got it here. You can look at it from the other side. You can see a bit of it there. So you want a line of action everywhere you look in your camera. I'm not animating to camera though. I am animating to perspective view for right now because I just want to get this out. I want to finish it, and then I'm going to put a camera in there and figure out what to do with it. Right now I'm just doing a lot of the poses, and then I'm going to start actually animating it once I've done that. So, we have the first pose. This one here, I did in fact tweak this pose. It's a little bit different from what's in this image, but I actually prefer this a lot more. We have our second pose where he slashes the ground. You notice the feet move a little bit, but not so much in this one. We have his next pose, these two right here are actually connected. The only reason that drawing is there is for this, and that's something that I'm going to do next time. And I think I have maybe the wrong version open. I do. Will this one open? Don't save. Let's see what happens when I open this. Because I put dot in there, the save file was a little bit off. Well, there we go. Perfect. This one actually has a bit of changes to it that I did in the last one. So you'll notice this one just overshoots a little bit, so those two are connected. The next pose, he goes up in there, again making sure you've got that line of action throughout the whole body. This one is a little bit weak. It could be tweaked a little bit more, which I'm probably going to do later on. And we go to our next one. I actually kept these two exactly the same, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my own breakdown. I'm going to scrap this completely. And we move to his next one, which is this slash right here. And that's where I left off. So what I have left to do is the rest of these. Oh, my mic sucks. That is terrible. It totally does. Let me know what the issue with the mic is. That would be a big help, so I know what to fix. Alright. So, we have this next pose. Now, this and this are a pose to another pose. I'm assuming this is going to actually be a breakdown to a pose, so I need to put this one in there, and then he's going to go into this big slash. His sword looks like it switches hands. So what I need to do is in this one is actually make him change hands with the sword, which, as I realized in the last one, is actually a little bit difficult. So, now for this pose. Now, first thing that I like to do is actually grab the COG and get it remotely close to where this one is rotated. So I reset my rotations. I always reset my chest and my hips, so I'm working off of clean controllers. Grab the head, just get the head out of the neck. The head follows world, so no matter what I do with the chest, it always looks in the same direction. I prefer it this way. And I like to reset my arms. That way I'm working off of fresh, clean controllers. Your voice is quiet, however I can hear you breathing very loud. Oh man. Do with the chest, it always looks in the same direction. I will find a better mic. That is what I will do. If I continue to do this, I will find a better mic. Alright. So, take this foot, rotate it out. And I'm going to take this foot and move it back. Now, before you can actually jump into where you decide your feet, you have to pay attention to this motion. Now, in this move, he swiped backwards, so a lot of his weight is going to be put on this back foot. Or right in the center, sorry. So on this foot, but a lot of it, the motion is going in this direction. Now, when he brings the sword over to this side, that means that he's shifting his weight to this foot here, which means that when his COG pulls back and comes over this way, and we fix his awkward-ass knee, and we rotate his COG in the direction that he should be going, which is forwards, that means that this foot is going to pull back, because if this moves back, this is coming back with it. It's also going to help us with this next pose when he goes in for that swipe. So I can bring this foot, rotate it in this way. Rotate it this way. Sorry, I'm alt-tabbing between the chat so I can see if anybody asks anything or says, hey, maybe try this with your microphone. Yeah, if anybody has anything. I have my volume at 50 and he's audible. Sorry about that. Let's see. Desktop audio. Don't need that. Mic. Filters. Oh. Let's see. Maybe there's one in here. No, nothing. Properties. I'll just leave that alone. Not really sure what that one's gonna do. Yeah, there's not really much I can do on that part. I will either find a better program or a different microphone. It might end up being a microphone. I might just get a good one, like one that doesn't have a lot of issues with the feedback and hearing me breathing. I'm sorry, but I have to breathe. Because I'm still deciding if I want to do this as like a full-time well, not a full-time thing, but if this is something I want to do regularly, is what I meant to say. So what I'm doing now is there's a line of action, and I will take the grease pencil and show you. There's a line of action in this drawing, like this. So from the foot to the head. That is what I need to get with this character. Now, the guy who drew this, he has been able to change the size of the legs. As you'll notice, the leg from here to here is a lot longer than the leg from here to here. So, I have to modify these poses a little bit. Excuse me. I have to modify these poses a little bit. So that means we take this, we get that knee pointing in the correct place, and bring that up, over. We need to keep him balanced, so you can't have him standing over here because it's obviously going to look like he's falling over. We need to have it look like his weight is over his foot. I like that he looks like he's curved forwards a little bit, so we can bring it back. Slowly getting that line of action in the character. Make sure the hips are in the correct area. Always, if your shoulders are rotated this direction, where they are like that, your hips need to be the opposite. So these two are always opposite of each other. And that is always, that's not a sometimes. It isn't always. So we can continue moving him until he's in the correct position. Get his head looking in the same direction that I want him to be, which is in this direction. And tilt it down a little bit. Now for his arm. Now this one looks like it's tucked in a bit. Let's bring it down, bring it up, rotate his wrist out, because he's passing it. Can take this arm and rotate it in, get it closer with his shoulder. Now the trick with his shoulders, they tend to break at a certain point. If I keep going, you'll start to notice that the upper part of the shoulder, whatever the hell it's called, it starts to break. So you can't go too far with this rig, which is something I noticed last time. So it's kind of nice that I get to play with it again. So I'm going to bring that arm in, bring that arm up, because we're passing the sword over. Try and make it look a lot comfier than it actually is. Bring that up. Try and unbreak that shoulder. So it is going to take a lot of tweaking to get it to the correct spot. And this arm looks like it's up. And this part is up a little bit higher. We can bring that in. Basically, the pose that I'm going to end up doing is going to be a little bit different from this one because I just want to pass the sword to the other hand. So we can get that up. And I want to make sure that I've got that line of action through the body. To me, that is the most important part. And that he is actually balanced. So you'll notice I shift his COG a lot of the time. Make sure his head follows his spine. I notice a lot of people in my classes tend to do this with the head. That doesn't work. Your spine runs up your back, which means the way that it's tilted right now, it's going to be completely twisted in this area. So you need to keep your head down and kind of following that spine so it doesn't look as broke or as broken. I'm not using the eye controls either. I'm pretty sure with this rig they don't actually do anything. So to continue getting that arm into the correct position, I need to rotate that down, rotate this up, and that is going to be how I get his hand closer to the other one, just by continuously rotating it in the opposite direction that I need to. Bring that arm over. Now I can bring this one back. So by bringing the arm back and bringing the elbow up, I can shorten the amount that he actually has to move. And this is a pose that I have to nail with the hand as well. I can't really half-ass it and just go, oh, his hand is fine here. Because this is passing the sword over, if I don't do this pose 100%, that means that in the breakdown spots, and when I do my IKFK switch, which is how you control the hands, there will be a lot of issues. So his hands, I still need to get the sword in that little crevice in the thumb, so I actually need to move his body closer, making sure I've still got that nice line of action. I can probably start twisting this in. There we go, that's slowly getting there. Be louder. I can't really be any louder than I am, Brenna, I'm sorry. For me, it's making sure I've still... Yeah, on mine it's very, very loud. If anybody else is having noise problems... Oh, she already said nice. Okay, so that means it must be fixed, which means my phone is crap, which it actually is. And I just got the message now. Alright, so the sword is in the correct spot. I am not too worried about crashing in the hand. I am more worried about the fingers being posed correctly. I'm going to do this quickly. The last time I posed a hand out, it took forever, and I do not feel like any of you guys need to sit through this with a hand. Hands and fingers are tedious, but they are the most important. The most important parts on a pose are always going to be your eyes and your hands. Because anytime the audience is looking at a character, they're either looking at the character's face, which is generally the eyes, and if the character is doing something with his hands, they're usually always going to be looking at the hands. So you want to make sure that your hands are 100%. Especially because if you've got shit hand poses, like this one, it doesn't look very good. Whereas this one, because you can see that that thumb is pushing down on the finger a little bit, these should actually be closer together. But if you look at the difference between the two, this one compared to this one, huge difference. So we bring that, nope, wrong controller. Still learning this rig. Grab the next one, bring that one up as well. So I'm basically closing the fingers together. Now the top one needs to come out. This is also the first rig I've ever seen with controllers like this for the hand. This is very rare. Usually what you have on any rig, that I've worked with at least, is you'll have a controller for each knuckle. So each knuckle will have a controller and good old grease pencil. You'll have a controller here, and here, and here, and here, and then one there, and there, and there, and there, and then one there, and there, and there, and there. And then you can use those to move the fingers, and not these. These suck, these are better. But I'm going to use what I have, because I don't know how to rig. And edit and redo is Control Y, because I just moved a bunch of things that I didn't want to move. Right, so we can get that finger up in the correct spot. Because like I said, I accidentally moved that, and I shouldn't have. Grab the pinky, get the pinky up higher. That's a little bit better. That's pretty much all I'm going to do, minus the thumb. The thumb needs to get done. If I don't do the thumb, I'll hate myself. I'll look back at it later and go, oh, I still have to do the thumb. This thumb is also very poorly rigged. It's not nice for letting me do some things that I would like to do with it. Like making sure it's not crashing into the other hand. I like to translate my thumb around sometimes, because right now this huge ass gap that I've got here, I'm not a fan of it, but there's not really much I can do to fix that. Alright, so we have the sword being passed between hands. So I can key that pose. I also believe that I just posed over an old one, which I did, which means I'm going to have to redo this pose, which is freaking awesome. It's totally not. There is a way that I can fix that though, and I will figure that out later. Right now I'm just going to keep on posing this character out, because I did just screw that up. 2607. We can save that. I would much prefer that I can keep that pose. I will do that later. Right now I'm just going to keep going. Alright, so I have the sword passing pose. I need to go to the next one, where the sword is over here. I am not doing this one. This is a breakdown. I would rather be in charge of my own breakdowns. So we're going to go to frame 40, key it, and now is where I need to go back to the COG in the chest, reset those, grab the COG, reset its rotates. I'm not resetting its translates, because I want to keep the COG where it is. Grab his head, rotate his head in the correct direction, and this sword now needs to switch hands. So, how I am going to do this is actually, I'm going to constrain the sword, which I was not really planning on doing to begin with, but it's not that big of a deal. So, just to make sure, key it there, key it there. Here I'm going to do that constraint switch. It is, in the most inappropriate way, master and slave. That is how we are taught in school, and that is how it will forever be. I apologize to anybody who doesn't like that, but it is. It is master and slave. So you select the master controller, and you select the slave. And in this case, it's this controller to this controller, and we go wherever the hell constraints is. Constraints, make sure I've got my translates and rotates on, and go add. And now that sword is constrained to that. I'm going to take this and put it to world. That way it doesn't try and follow that hand anymore. I'm going to key it there. I'm going to delete this key that I created. And I'm going to delete that key that I created. And I'm going to key it there. And now, when I go and grab these and reset those, and grab this, rotate, and reset those, now that sword is forever following that hand. So, get his head rotated in the correct direction, reset his shoulder and his arm, and as you'll notice, the sword is now following that hand and not this one. So, on this move, because you can't just go, okay, leg goes here, leg goes there, COG goes there, you need to think about what is actually happening in between these two moves. Now for me, it could just be that he pivots on this foot, so that the foot just pivots this direction. Or it could be that in this move, he takes his leg, steps up a little bit, and then he steps forward and slashes. For me, that is how I would prefer doing it. So I'm going to take that foot, I'm going to bring it forward a little bit. In the picture, it is rotated completely forwards. This leg looks like it's stuck, but it is also got a little bit of foot roll to it. Toe roll, yep. Toe roll to it. Oh, toe roll. Grab a COG, rotate it in this direction. Again with the knees, always make sure your knees are following your toes. That is, to me, the most important thing. There are times where your knee won't actually follow your foot, but it's usually very, very, very close. But in this case, it is following his foot. This one is following his foot. Now, his crotch in this image looks like it's just about 45 degrees. So I'd take his crotch and rotate it about 45 degrees and bring it down. I gotta remember that line of action through the shot. And in case anybody forgot what line of action is, it is that right there. Line of action. So there should always be a nice line through the pose in the line of action. Now, rotate his COG in this direction. So we've got that line of action. Again, the hips need to be the opposite of each other. So if the chest is rotated in this direction, and I realize now that I just screwed something up, this is his back. Well then. So he actually steps with the other leg. So I need to go back. What I'm going to do is copy those previous poses, and this foot is going to stay there, and this foot is actually going to move up here. Because what I didn't realize is he's switching his feet. And this is exactly why you're supposed to plan your poses, which I am now not doing. So, get that foot in the correct spot, get this foot in the correct spot. That one shouldn't move. It will have some toe roll though. Grab this COG. I'm going to reset these. Grab the COG, reset the rotates. Take it, bring it forwards, and rotate it in the other direction. Get the knees in the correct places, because as you can tell, they're super broken. This one needs to be rotated. I may have screwed up this pose. Well, I will figure it out. Oh, actually, it's not that far behind now. Cool. It's catching up. Now, rotate the COG in the correct direction. Bring him forward. Hips need to be the opposite of each other, so if this is rotated down, this is rotated up. Reset the arm, so this needs to come up. Reset these two, just because that's how I work. Reset the shoulders. Oh, shoulders. Grab that controller. See, now in this image it looks like he swaps his hand, unless he's slashing and stopping, but this doesn't make any sense, so I'm actually going to just continue doing what I'm doing. I think the drawing is just a little off. Again, I want to reset this, rotate it around. Actually, I do kind of prefer this pose. It's changing it up a little bit. Get his head rotated in the correct direction. Now he looks like he's dancing. Reset these two so that they're actually straight. I'm going to straighten that out a little bit more. It is really important that you don't break the hand. Never do this. This bad. Nobody does this. Don't do that. That's just really poor. Just don't. Bring that hand up, but I'm actually going to start it with this. If you pay attention to the elbow should not be pointing up to the sky. It should be pointing down. Because if you actually do the pose yourself, you'll notice your elbow points not down to the ground, but it points down at like 75, 80 degrees. So we can rotate that down, bring that hand, rotate that out. This is something I'm going to have to go back and fix later. I actually want to bring this sword and rotate it out more like this in the hand, but because it's constrained, what you'll notice is actually as soon as I go back, and then here, the sword fixes itself. So if I do this, the sword always pops back. That's what the constraint does. So what I need to do is go back before I'm done, set up a null rig, and do it that way. Or what I can do is I can actually take this sword and cheat it in that pose and plop it into this one's position and move this one to that one, so I'm still free to do it. That might sound a little confusing, but when I go back and do it, somebody will be like, oh, that's what he did. It's cheating to camera. Nobody will notice. I'm the only person who will. So I'm going to key that, jump to the previous pose, making sure that this leg doesn't do too much movement. Reset my toe roll. I'm going to add a little bit more. I want to add a little bit of rotate on that. I need to bring this and this forward more because I need to get that line of action through the body. Now this leg in here is pretty much a 90-degree angle, so I need to get that. I need to make sure that he is actually balanced, and I want to drop him down a little bit. I also need to make sure that I'm getting that line of action throughout the body, so we rotate him forwards, then we rotate this back, And as you can see, you're starting to get that line of action in the body. Get his knee in the correct spot. That'll fix part of the pose. It's a little hyperextended. I'm not a fan, so I'm actually going to bring it down a little bit. That's starting to get there. Posing isn't something that you can just do in a split second. It does take a little bit of time. So you'll notice I go back and forth between, oh, you know what, I actually don't like this, I want to try something else, and I'll try something else, and I'm like, you know what, I don't like this either, so I'm going to try something else. Especially when I'm copying an image that isn't mine. And rotate that hand in. I'm not even going to change his fingers for now. I want to get the poses in first, as sharp as I can, and then I'm going to go back and fix that afterwards. Now, this arm, this should actually be rotated back more. Remember that line of action throughout the body. Unbreak that wrist. See, now what I want is I want that sword to be pointed back. Get that torque in the body. This really looks like he really twisted that. That's what I want. More torque. Fix the head. It's starting to get detached from the spine. There we go. Slowly starting to get there. He's starting to look a little broken. So I'm actually going to rotate this backwards a little bit. Rotate this. Maybe bring this one back up a little. Bring that shoulder up. Bring that shoulder down. Slowly starting to get there. There's a little bit more I want to do in this. No, not rotating it that way. Maybe I can bring him this way a little bit more. Almost. And now for a couple final tweaks that actually usually end up making it better. Rotate him back here. Rotate him forward here. So I'm starting to get a line of action through the body this way. Making sure I've got that line of action throughout the whole character. This foot needs to stay planted because I need to remember that he's pivoting on this foot. So actually, what I did wrong that I need to do is I need to take this toe point right there and I need to keep his foot on that spot. So what I can do, which is very easy, is grab his entire rig and move him over so that that toe pivots from that point. Now there is a better way to do that, and it's actually something that comes with the rig. You can do a toe pivot. But because I'm just going to do this myself, and I like having full control over the character, this works better for me. So the bonus now is my character is actually moving around in this shot. He's not just staying in one spot. And if I hadn't screwed up and overwritten that pose, we would see that one, which would be a huge plus. Where did that sword go? It's in that hand. We've got to turn that constraint off. Blend parent to 0. Open up my graph editor. Make sure it's at 0 throughout the whole shot in the beginning. And it is. What I'm going to do is add that key for the rest of it. There, it's at 0. Perfect. Alright. So, I'm not a fan of what's breaking in here. Honestly, I could just translate this back. I tell a lot of students, don't translate your chest. You tend to either counter animate something, and it never looks good in the end. In this case though, what I'm going to do is rotate this back more, rotate this forward more. Now, you know what? I'm going back to the translate. I think it should be something that's left as a last resort, because you are going to have to go into a breakdown for that. And if you look at the way this is rotated, it's not very clean. So you know what, before I do that, because I'm going to keep second guessing myself, I am going to rotate that forward and that backwards, and I'm going to rotate these hips up, and I'm going to see if I can fix. No, the only way is to translate that chest. Alright, translate that chest. Nobody will know except for me. Perfect. Alright, so we've got our line of action. I've got a line of action throughout the arms. So you want to make sure that you've got a nice silhouette so that there's always a gap somewhere. Think about the superhero pose. My sword has now disappeared. I need to find where it has gone. It is now way the hell over here. Turn that blend parent back to 1. To 1. There we go. Now it's back in the right hand. So what I want to do is actually at this point, I'm going to take this sword. I'm going to save before I do this, because you always want to save before you actually do something like this. There's a chance that you could break it. This session has turned into something a lot more technical, which is good for some people if they actually have no idea what's going on. Some people are going to not like that because they just want to see the animation step. I'm going to take this sword, I'm going to put it in this sword spot, and put this sword in that hand. So what that means is that I need to create a locator. Create locator. I'm going to put it in this sword spot. So now that locator is right there. You can see that little thing right there. I want it in that spot. I'm going to scale it up so I can see it better. And what I'm going to do is take this sword, that sword, that has somehow, there we go, take that sword, and I'm going to delete its constraint, edit, delete by type, constraint. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to rematch transform that. And I'm going to put this one in this one spot. And now it's in that one spot. But before I do that, I'm actually going to do it this way. Locator, and put it over here. Again, I'm going to scale it up a little bit. Now I'm going to take this one. I'm going to move it backwards, take that, grab that locator, match transform it to there, grab this one, and I'm going to match transform it to, whoops, I did a double one. Take that, and match transform it to that. There we go. Grab this one, and match transform it to that one. So basically what I've done is I swapped the swords out. That way this hand can still move the other one, and it will free roam, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to grab these, I'm going to delete them because I don't need them anymore. I'm going to take that right there, and I'm going to constrain it to this. So it can be constrain and parent. So now whenever this thing moves, it'll control that sword. This one I'm going to constrain to this hand. Actually, I don't need to, because it is following. Oh shit, I screwed up. I didn't change something before I did that. This doesn't even need to be mass transformed. It just needs to be you to you. Mass transform. Not a fan. Reset that to hand. There. Now it's in the correct hand. There. I don't have to do anything anymore. Now I can take that, mass transform it. Oh, you bastard. Well, what I'm going to have to do then... Why won't you work? I'm going to have to do this by hand, which is something I'm not a fan of doing. Rotate it back out. Basically, I need it following that locator throughout the whole thing. I hate doing this stuff by hand because it never looks as good as it did when it's in the exact same spot. Because now I have all these issues. There's also a better locator, or a match transform as well. There's a better way of doing this basically. But I am showing you the tedious way because I can. There we go. Awesome. Now I can take this one, go back to here. And now nobody will ever know. It is not staying, or it should, but that's also because I deleted my constraint. So I can delete those, take you, I can finally constrain you to that, parent, there we go. Go back a pose, turn that constraint off, there we go. Go back here, keep you, and copy that previous one. There. Problem solved. Now what I can do is I can take this sword and I can finally pose it the way that I want by rotating it out more, translating it out a bit so it's following the pinky, and then I take these fingers, rotate those fingers out, rotate these ones down so it clenches it more. Same thing with the middle one. Rotate it out, rotate that out, rotate that in. So basically it's holding on to it. And then the pinky, it's pretty good there, but we can bring it in tighter. Bring it in more. Fix that thumb up. That's what I mean. The fingers are tedious with this rig. This is also something that we do that people will never notice, is we completely cheat things to camera. Or we break joints, like I just broke the thumb. Somebody would be like, your thumb doesn't move like that. And I'm like, I'm an animator, I don't give a shit. Get the thumb in the correct spot. Bring that thumb out. Like I said, this thumb is just kind of annoying. Like really annoying. I can rotate that down, in, bring that out, that one out a little bit more, so it's kind of overlapping that finger. Bring these in, just until they start to crash. There we go. I can bring all the fingers in, bring that bottom part out, do the same thing to here, bring these parts out, bring that in, and go to the pinky and do the same thing to it. There we go. So now I can get a little bit more angle out of that. I would love to get more. So let's see what I can do without having to repose the hand. Keep twisting it out, twisting it out. Still don't need to fix anything. Perfect. There we go. Done. So I've got that one done. And then just make it follow the rest of the pose. So right through there. So you can see there is a line of action through that. There's a line of action through here, a line of action through there. Pretty much that's exactly what I want. So as you can see, one pose does take quite a bit of time. So I can go back and save that as 09 because I did one more pose. Alright, so next one. 45 before I do it over the same thing again. He seems to rotate his hand down, so the pose on the bottom is pretty much the same. Now, this is something that I see a lot of new people screw around with too. They're like, oh, well, it looks like the same thing. And they'll do this with the reference too. It looks like the same pose. I'm just going to leave it. Just change the hand. And then what I see them do is they just take the hand and go, oh, that's not the hand. There. And they do this. And they don't even move the hand. I'm like, okay, well, you tell me. Does this look good? Do you think that's what the artist had in mind when he drew these boards out? I really don't think so. So, we don't do that. I'm going to grab that controller, delete what I just did to it. Now again, thinking about what is going from here to there to there. You have to think about what that guy is doing. To me, it looks like he's just relaxing a little bit, so we can pull it over and switch hands again. So, if that is the case, that means that we are going to continue the movement from here to here. So he is going to continue moving in this direction a little bit. He's also going to relax a little bit. So as I go from each move, he settles into it. Already this looks better than just having that stupid arm rotate down, because that just doesn't make sense. Now, if that is the case, and he is going to relax a little bit, he's probably going to overshoot in this direction a little bit as well. So he overshoots in that direction. It's very subtle. You can't see it, but having it there is what makes a difference. You can't just leave it and not rotate it. It also means he's going to rotate inwards. His chest is also going to rotate downwards a little bit and forwards a little bit, and maybe just backwards a little. Yeah. And then we can take his shoulder. His shoulder might relax a little bit because he's done his big move. We can bring that shoulder down. His arm is obviously going to come down because now look at it, it's flat and here it's up. So we can do just that. We can take this arm, we can rotate it down. I can take this elbow, I can start to bend it in. I think his elbow is actually going to start to come up. I can take this hand, rotate it in and down a little bit, making sure that it's not broken, because that to me is important. Bring this back, bring that in. Making sure that I only rotate on Y is very, very, very important. Grab this shoulder. I'm actually going to reset this shoulder. Cool. And I'm going to drop this down. And I'm going to rotate this in. And I'm going to rotate that in. And I'm going to rotate that in. As you'll notice, I touched every single controller in that arm. I didn't do just the upper part of the arm. I did all three of them because, again, you don't want things just staying still. That's bad. Still bad. So, we look at the two poses compared. I personally think that arm now is moving a little bit too much. So, I'm actually going to copy it to what it used to be, but drop it down still just a little bit. That shoulder, I'm actually going to go to the previous pose. I'm going to copy the new one and actually bring it up a little bit higher so it kind of drops down here. This arm, or sorry, this sword, I'm going to bring up a little bit. I'm going to rotate this arm down a little bit. Because what I want is I want a nice line of action through here, along with the line of action here. So that in the previous pose, we had a line of action, oh, my bad, line of action here and here. And in this one, we've got it, doing the same thing, but just a little less. So I think that's how I get rid of those drawings, is with that button. Cool. So again, bring that down just a little bit, and then I can bring that up a little bit more. Okay. This foot, because his weight is coming forward, is going to have to rotate forward a little bit more. I can take a little bit more of that toe tip and bring it forward. His hips, obviously if he's putting his weight down, his hips are going to need to be animated. Ooh. There we go. So I can finish that one off. Go to frame 50. Now I'm moving into this one. that is a breakdown. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to this pose, because that is also a breakdown. So I'm going to go straight from here to here, and these two I'm going to do later, because these are breakdown poses. This is an actual pose. The reason I know they're breakdown poses is because we go from one angle to another angle. So we've got his back, then his chest. From these two, he's dropping his sword down more, and he's starting to shift his feet. And in this one, his feet are now shifted, and his upper body is now catching up to the front. So we've got a little bit of side leg, crotch, full crotch. Whereas this one is ass, side leg, a little bit of crotch, full crotch. So he's doing a turn towards us, which is what I'm looking for. So, again, I'm going to save. I end up with a ton of save files, and I always name them 1 to 10, or sorry, 1, and I keep going. The reason being, you end up, like most people, with final for sure. This is 100% the final. This is the actual final, and then you keep on going from there. I find just if you go from numbers, you know it's the latest number. And okay, so again, if he is going to pivot this way, what I need to decide now is this. Is he going to step back, or is he going to step forwards? Now, if I step back, it's a lot less work. If I step forwards, I need to take this foot and bring it up here. With how this move has gone so far, and this is something you need to think about, he was in one spot back here. He does his one big down slash, and then he jumps forward a little bit. And then he jumps backwards a little bit so that he can hop forwards a lot. So for me, with how much he's going backwards and forwards, I actually do want to step him backwards. It is repeating the same move over and over and over, but this is just a cycle. So the character is just doing all of these moves and then stopping. And I just want to have him go slash, 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 done. And that's exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to go to his frame 50, and I'm going to grab his foot and this, and I'm actually going to copy 30 to 50. The reason being is because I want that rotation in the chest. I'm going to copy 30's foot position to 50. That way I know those are correct. I'm going to copy 30's chest position to 50. And as you can see, he is completely mangled. So I'm going to fix the rotates there. I'm going to fix the rotates here. And I'm going to fix his knees. And you'll notice he's standing in the wrong spot, but there's a very good reason as to why I did what I did. And it is so that I can take his arms. This isn't the reason, this is just what I'm doing. Take his arms, move him to 50. Bring this one out, around, fix his head. And the reason I did this was because now, with his feet being in the correct spot, all I have to do is go, okay, this foot's coming back, this is going to stay still. It's in the same spot. Perfect. And now all I have to do is take this foot. I'm not going to put it in the same spot as 30 because that will be very, very obvious to anybody who looks at it. And what I'm going to do is take that foot, figure out where its weight should be, which should be about here for me, bring a COG, put it over top of that foot. I want to match the same angle he's got. Again, that line of action through the body. Right here. Oh, that was dark. Right there. That line of action through the body. Right like that. That's what I want to match. So, take the character, move him over on top of that other leg, bring him forward so he's balanced. Get the knee up in the correct place. Just about here. Get this knee pointed in the correct place. And let's see. Alright. Grab his chest. This one is rotated inwards. You know what? I kind of like that. Keep him looking at where he wants to be. Not going now, but where he was looking previously. Obviously, he had to have been swinging at something. The hands did switch, or the swords did switch, so I'm going to have to do the opposite of what I did earlier. Which is good times, because you remember how tedious that was. But what I'm going to worry about right now is just getting his arms in the correct posing. Take that. That one should be rotated in. Bring that in a little bit more. Bring this in a little bit more. Bring that in a little bit more. This arm is going to be just relaxed. So we can bring that shoulder up. The reason I say bring it up is because it seems to me in that drawing he's a little tense. So bring that arm down. This hand is going to be outwards. I'm going to reset it though, just so I don't have any weird things going on with it. Bring that forwards. I've got my line of action through the pose. His hips need to be done. Remember, the shoulders are rotated this way. That means that the hips are rotated this way. Alright. Got those hips. Rotate them forwards. Rotate this forwards a little bit. And now I'm going to have to switch those hands. So because I just did this to here, I've got those two breakdown poses in between. I'm going to save before I start swapping those hands because there's possibilities of crashing anytime you're dealing with a constraint. Always be prepared for a crash. Just always. It is bound to happen. So I can go to the back. So that goes into his back. And actually I should reset that. Reset those. So it goes back to his back. But what I want to do is actually take the constraint off of here. Put that to 0. There we go. Reset those so it's back in his hand. Grab this. I didn't know this is how this would work. Reset that. And now if I key that, now it'll look like that sword stayed in that sheath the whole time and that he passed his sword over to his other hand. When I actually do this, I'm going to be doing it at this pose, which means I do have to do that one. I'm not looking forward to that, but it does mean that I have to do it, which will be frickin' sweet. Okay. Now, there is one pose that I have to go back and fix, and it is the one that I deleted accidentally, and it was this one. And it wasn't that I deleted it, it's that I overwrote it. Believe it or not, I have done that multiple times. There are ways that you can get it back. I could, for instance, import the model from that scene in, and I can copy all of the curves over. There is a way to do it with A-tools. I've never done it before, so I'm actually not even going to attempt. What I am going to do is just repose it. It's really not that hard to do. So delete that drawing, get rid of grease pencil so I stop pressing the button. I'm going to save once more over 11 because I didn't really do anything. I'm just setting myself up. And we go from here, which is where that sword is, to this slash. So in that slash, if I remember correctly, the feet were here. So at 30, I can copy a lot of this next pose actually, which is kind of nice. No, we're going to reset that. We're going to reset this actually. Rotate that chest in. I love it when a rig is not posed 100% because it means that you get to look at this character all goofy looking. You're like, he shouldn't look like that. That looks messed up. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not done yet. I'm actually going to keep this foot here. So he slides. Actually, no, it's the opposite of that. We'll figure it out. Alright, so I want to get the majority of his body in the right position with that chest. Bring that knee in the correct spot. Get this knee in the... Ooh, that's not the knee. Get that knee in the correct spot. Alright. Get those hips in the correct spot. That chest. If I remember correctly, I actually spent a lot of time on this pose. It was one that it just wasn't working 100% the way that it was done. Somehow translating that drawing into this character just didn't want to work very nicely. So it took a little bit of time, but I got it eventually. As you'll notice, it doesn't actually take that long. Especially because I've done it once before, so I have a brief memory of what I did in that last one. See, as you can tell, I'm already almost there. At least I'm close. Now, these upper shoulders seem to be making a nice line across, which is something that I want to have. I'm also going to take this sword and do exactly what I did with the other one. I'm going to rotate it out more, and then I'm going to bring it in. It'll look like he actually swiped with it. And then I can go back and fix this afterwards. Nobody needs to see me do hands. This one I'm not too worried about. Actually, there's one spot that I do want to fix before I keep going. It's just going to bug me if I don't, and it's that index finger right there. I can worry about the rest of them later, but that one will drive me nuts. So the rest of them can just stay there. Okay, got to get my line of action in that leg. But we can't have that pointing in the opposite direction. So we go, bring him forward a little bit more. So I get that line of action through the body. That means that I can actually put that foot back to where it was. That means that I can do that. And add a little bit of toe roll. Get that toe Y in there. Nope, not that one. Toe Z? Yep, toe Z. A little bit more toe roll. That's what gets the foot off the ground. That means that I can bring him forward more. And I've got that 45-degree angle. Perfect. Some of you are going to notice my screen is changing color. That is Flux. Flux is a program that dulls your screen based on the time of day. And it is really good for your eyes. It stops you from having to look at a bright screen, so that when you go outside, you're not all like screaming at the sun going, ah, shit, ah, my eyes. This way you don't have to worry about it too much. Alright, that pose is pretty much solid, but I need to get this arm up a little bit high. Ooh, that's the shoulder. Get this arm up a little bit higher. Get this hand. There we go. Done. Okay. No. Just tweaking things until I get exactly what I want. Very close. I can rotate this in more. Rotate that over more. There's this thing called torque in the body. So you have one side rotated one way, one side rotated the other way. It is what helps action shots look actiony. Or gives them their zip. I realized that was like the worst way to explain that. This hand, I really want to get posed. I'm going to do something quick. So let's see. The outer thumb can come out, and we'll take this thumb and we'll point it inwards a little bit. Maybe not in so much. And then we can take this one and bring it in a little bit more. Take this and bring it out just a little. And rotate it down. There we go. The index finger can come up. And then we can take this one, rotate it up a little bit as well, and rotate that down. Again, this is just a quick hand pose. It's something we use in a lot of action shots, where you just kind of point the fingers out and you make sure that they're all angled. Best way to look at your hands is like this. Imagine that you have a mitt on, and if you remember old school mitts, we'll just open that back up again. If you remember old school mitts, they tend to have the thumb, these two, and those two. That's how I treat my hands. So that these two fingers do really do their own thing. So you can basically just grab those two, rotate them in a little bit, grab these two controllers, rotate those in a little bit, and grab those two and rotate them in a little bit. And then you can take that top ring finger and bring it up a little bit higher. And there. Quick, dirty hand pose. And they're all different. You want to make sure that you have that round breakdownness in the hand. There is a way to actually rotate the hand. I don't remember how to do it with this rig. Whatever. Not important. So there. I have all of the poses that I need in order to start actually doing breakdowns with this shot. There is one more that I need to do, and it is this one. So what I'm going to do is keep both of these poses, 20 and 25. I'm going to do a little bit of a tween machine on it. Oh, I have something selected. A little bit of a tween machine on that pose. So we're going to hit 90%. There we go. Ooh. That was the wrong one. That would have been awesome. Redo that again. There, right here. This is the one that I want to do. There. Now obviously the feet cannot be moving. They need to be in their correct spot. The COG should already be in that spot. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm actually going to just move it up and rotate it so the COG actually looks like it's still moving. Make sure the hips catch up to the body. That chest, we can take out a little bit and hyperextend it. The sword should already be in that position. So what I'm going to do is actually rotate that up more. I'm going to bring that out a little bit more, bring that in a little bit more, bring that shoulder up higher, so that that's already there. And it just looks like the arm is, or the hand is catching up, sorry. That head, a little bit of drag to it. That arm, let's see, where was he coming from? Down here. So we can drag it behind a little bit more. Drag it behind a little bit more here. There we go. That's a little bit too much, so we can take less off of that. There we go, a little bit less off that one and more on that one. There we go. Again, I need another hand pose on this. There is a way to mirror. I actually don't know how to do it at all. So we're going to key that pose. I'm going to add that quick hand pose, the same one that I did on the other side, where that thumb comes in, that thumb comes out, that thumb comes out, and then you rotate it down a little bit, and then your index fingers come up, and this one goes in, and then you rotate that one up higher, and then you do the same thing with the bottom one. You rotate them all up, and you rotate that one down, keeping them offset of each other. Grab the ring finger and the pinky finger, rotate them in, rotate those two in more, and rotate those two in more, then bring this one up higher, and we have a quick dirty hand pose. There. And then I can do that to here, and I can do that here, because I didn't pose the hand out on any of these, but the hand can pretty much stay in the same pose throughout the whole shot. Except for here. Oh, no, here we actually need to pose that hand, grabbing onto the sword. Again, this is something that you can't do later, you have to do it now. It really is. If you try and do breakdowns without doing this now, things just won't work out for you. So we can grab those and those. I tried once upon a time to make a selector for these. It doesn't work very well. Rotate them all in. Rotate all those up. This pose I am doing very, very, very half-assy. There's a lot of issues with this arm. doesn't really want to touch or unbreak. There are ways that I can go about fixing it. I'm not too worried about it though. It's just one pose in the beginning. I'm picking my battles basically. So I'm taking that one, and bringing these two down more. And we're going to grab these ones and fix those. There we go. There. Bring that in. And we can go up more. There we go. And the thumb. Bring that out. Bring that out. There we go. Like I said, just a quick... Ooh, no. You see, here's what I said. When you just rotate those in, you run into some issues. You can't just leave. And this is one of those times where I cannot just leave that because that is just awful. There we go. That looks much better. Okay, hand done. Save. And let's see. From here. Now is breakdowns time. But you know what? That is an hour and 20 minutes. I am going to call that it. Because, actually, you know what? No. I can't feel good about that. I need to get him passing the sword over done. Which means that happens here. So, that means I need to plan out this foot stepping back. Now in this pose, his feet are already in this position that they should be. So we're going to copy them to where they should be. His COG should already be roughly back to where it was. So you can bring those back. His knees, obviously they can be where they were. His hips can obviously be over there. His chest can obviously be in that position. His head should be roughly in this position. Now I can bring him over more. This pose I am going to cheat a little bit. These two swords are going to be copied from the previous one. His arms are going to be copied from this one. There we go. Okay, so from here to here, I'm actually going to bring this foot out a little bit, I believe. No, you know what? I'm going to put it here. He's going to take multiple steps to get to where he is going. Rotate those hips. Get that chest rotated in the direction where it is in the picture. Same with this part. His head seems to be looking down at his swords. I'm going to reset his shoulders. And that hand, I wonder actually, if I key this and I go to that pose where he swapped, right there, 35. Let's see what happens if I select his arms, the whole chain. Maybe I can steal this information and use it at 55. And then I won't have to repose. Sadly, that doesn't work. What if we take this and we rotate it in world forwards? No, that is not going to work either. Well, I tried to cheat. It doesn't work. So we have to do it the long way. Take that, bring it down and over, reset that shoulder. So that means I can come back forwards. Bring that arm, bring it up, grab that, bring it over. Remember, I'm passing the sword over, so I need to do it comfortably. It looks like he's doing it from his hip, actually. It honestly looks like he's actually sheathing it. But, whatever. get the sword. This is extremely uncomfortable looking. Bring this arm over. Once I reset that shoulder, actually. Bring it up. Bring that arm over to this side. Flatten that out a little bit. I need him to start grabbing the other one so we can swap the hands. Bring it closer to the body, because this is a lot of a more controlled movement. So this arm can be inwards a little bit more and downwards. These kinds of poses are very, very, very tedious, and they take a lot of time. Anytime that you have a character passing something from one hand to the other, it takes time. It's kind of bullshit, but whatever. When you spend time on it and make it look good, that's when it really matters. That arm is too broken. Slowly getting there. I really like the drawing though. The drawing really does a good job of how he passes that sword over. And I am just not capturing that. Keep going, he's almost there. This is a lot more flat. This comes in a lot more. Oof. It just looks like he's... Maybe if I point that elbow down more, because I just noticed that elbows pointed down a lot more. He's got a lot more rotation in his chest. Oh, I just noticed it's starting to get close. Holy shit, so close. It's not a very nice looking pose. I'm sure I can come up with something better. I feel like it should be more down here. Really, the only reason why this is causing so many issues or taking so long is because his arms are so big. It is very difficult to get them the way that I want them. Because I don't want to have much breaking in his rig. I'd like to keep everything as close to normal as possible. The sword and the image is rotated outwards as well. Oh man, had it so close. So freaking close. Oh, getting there, but again, it's broken. I'll just have to play with the camera when I do it. Make the camera a certain way that I won't even notice. I can rotate that up and bring this out. So close. There we go. Key that. We've got our line of action-ish. And now, if I look at what we have, we start from here. We've got our first pose, our second pose, so he slashes upwards. It's actually not a slash up. It's actually, there's going to be a breakdown in the middle where he goes up into this antic. So I actually need to bring this pose back a little bit more. Then he slashes down. So what I actually should do is grab just a COG, just right there. Pull it back. And raise everything up just a little bit higher. Key that. There we go. So we've got poof, slashes down to the ground, relaxes, goes into his next pose, recoils a little bit, slashes that way, goes into his next one, hops forward, does a slash here, relaxes a little bit, and then goes into that passing to pass the sword over to the next one. So when we play it, we'll only do up to frame 70. And once I add all the breakdowns in there, which will be next time, you'll start to see some more. So yeah, for those of you who stuck around, thanks for watching. Any feedback, please give it to me. I need it so I can help improve everything. And once I add all the breakdowns in there, which will be next time, you'll start to see some more. So yeah, for those of you who stuck around, thanks for watching. Any feedback, please give it to me. I need it so I can help improve everything.